everybody. Okay, so this is video 2 in the Legit Kits block of the month, month 5. So if you're seeing this one first, it's cool, watch this one. But then if you want to know about actually cutting the fabric for the block of the month, that's the first video. Word of caution, this month the fabric is tight for a couple of the colors, kiwi especially. So you might want to watch the how to cut video first to see how I kind of handle that. If you're like really comfortable and accustomed to cutting the fabric and you don't want to watch that video, all good, totally understand. Then just watch the put it together part, and I appreciate your time. So I'm going to go ahead and let that video play of me putting the blocks together, and I will see you again on the end of that. All right, so we've successfully cut all the fabric, and now we're going to start stitching that fabric to the different blocks. Looks like I'm starting with A6, maybe because it has fewest pieces. Yeah, it's got 3 pieces. So that might be why I'm starting with A6. Again, really love the greens. I'm really excited to get started on cutting the Kona panel. Cutting one of them that I received from Millersburg Retreat. Millersburg is in Ohio. Retreaters that were so amazing. Marla and Tammy and Sheila, who sent me the Kona cotton panels. I'm cutting one of them and putting that fabric on magnets. And I'm excited to see like what all 365 colors of Kona looks like. I'll be able to play around with color combinations with those magnets. All right, so here I've got pieces 1 and 2 set up with a little bit healthier than a 1/4 inch seam allowance after this sew line. And I do sew at a 1.2 stitch length when I'm doing FPP, any kind of FPP. Doesn't matter if it's Legit Kits or the Yvette Renee from Piecing It Real. I'm going to be doing that Alice in Wonderland project, so along with Stephanie and Russ in January. It will all be done at a 1.2. And I know that my Jukies all do 1.2. I know my Singer does a 1.3, so as low as I can go. I haven't gone as low as 1 though. So whatever your next up from 1 is what I would do once you're comfortable, because when you those pieces together, which were super pretty, but when you stitch that low, you do have to accept that you will be dealing with the horror of unpicking 1.2 if something should go wrong, and that can be that's stressful. Nothing about seam ripping is stressful, but it's definitely tedious to get those tiny little stitches started and then consistently ripped through. So you just have to kind of accept that inevitability when you do make a mistake, because we all do. We make some mistakes. Oh, I just love these greens. This was a fun month. I feel like it was one of the easy, if I remember correctly, month 1, which seems so long ago, was pretty easy too, but I feel like these blocks were quick. They're all on their 8x11 sheets. There was no needing to piece together pieces, different units of the blocks this month. So that was super cool. I did enjoy that.
Um, I do start in the seam allowance. So when I'm going across an entire page like this, you just start outside. You know, it can be outside of the seam allowance on this whole page stuff, or um, just in the seam allowance. But I do start outside and then come all the way across the sheet, all the way through. I don't necessarily sew off of the fabric, but all the way through the paper piece. Um, I do. I'll show you. There's one of the blocks that has where you're actually stopping within the kind of the body of another piece of fabric, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. I do find, because I do sew at such a small stitch length at 1.2, I don't have any problems with these blocks coming apart as I'm storing them, because it's a year-long block of the month. I don't have to worry so much about the edges coming apart as they're being stored or as I'm moving them around, because I am sewing at so low a stitch length. Haven't had any issues with that at all, with either this block of the month or other projects that I've worked on in FPP, because of this smaller. And then that also means I don't have to uh, back stitch at the start or the end. If you do want to do that, please feel free. But I have found, and what has added to me being able to do this a little bit faster, the efficiency of it when sewing at such a low stitch length. I don't have to do the back stitching at the start or the end. I did start off doing that because it was such a good habit to get into with just traditional piecing, uh, where now I have to remind myself when I'm traditional piecing, I have to remind myself to do the back stitch. But even then, in traditional piecing, I'm still I stitch at a 1.8. I like small stitches. Yeah. Oh, yesterday evening when we did the carnival sew along, somebody asked about, do I do an eighth of an inch? Like, do I do an added eighth specialty ruler, which you don't need. You do not need the specialty ruler, especially if you're just starting out. You don't have to get all the cool gadgets or anything. But I've found that I don't like the ledge that an eighth of an inch adds when you're ironing your fabrics back. I feel like the larger uh, seam allowance, I guess, a quarter of an inch or even more, depending on how many fabrics are coming together. And I've this is something I've found over time of, if a lot of fabrics are coming together, so it's like some pieces I'll go even longer than a quarter of an inch. Oh, there we go. There's block A5 all finished. But yeah, I'll go even like wider than a quarter of an inch, so that the fabrics have an easier chance of laying flatter across the entirety of the body. So here you see that I'm putting together the two blocks. So these are going to be the top two, A5 and A6. And the magic white lines that Legit Kits puts on their blocks is not as it's always a useful tool, but it's not as required when you're doing just these regular, the pages up against each other. Those white lines really come in handy when you're putting different angles together, especially on pieces that look like they shouldn't end up working out when you're looking at them laid together. One is a lot longer than the other. And you're like, how does this possibly fit together? Those magic white lines are just a necessity at those sections, and I really miss them on other projects. But let's see how I did. How do my seams look? I know it's a funky angle, I apologize, but looks pretty good. I gotta see if I can figure out a way of a nice close-up of the sewing like this, and but still then be able to see what I'm working on. So laying it up here on the body of the machine is working out pretty good. So I guess that's good. Some of this I might kind of speed up a little bit because I think I've got like an hour of, of doing this. I will say, when I was doing this, there was nobody home. I just had some music on, and I didn't have anybody to like talk to. The animals were pretty chill. They weren't distracting me or anything. And I rolled through doing this. I definitely moved really quickly, but I was so bored and so lonely. I definitely enjoy having somebody there to chat with. All right, so here I am speeding it up a little bit, um, to get through building these blocks. Nothing unique really happening here, though in this block is where I was going to talk about. So I sew from the seam allowance on the sew line, but I don't stop right in that corner, that tight corner where all of these pieces meet. I do sew a little bit past that seam, that the sew line of the next piece. Having done Juicy Juice's small piecing sew along he did with Allison Glass last year, he was talking about when he does that, when he sews just a couple of stitches into the next piece's body, he's able to get really crisp, clean angles. And there's no, when I was finding when I was trying to stop precisely at that sew line of the next piece, that uh, could possibly be because of my aggressive ironing. I did find that there could be some gapping there where I could see where all of those pieces came together instead of it looking like all of the pieces melded together. There was like a hole there where there shouldn't be. So I do take a couple of stitches into the body when the sew line stops, not at the edge of the piece of paper, but into the next piece of fabric, because then you just peel the paper back a little bit, and you just sew across it, and it leaves a really like just crisp join, I guess. If you were worried about bulk, I guess that's where you would get into the wanting. Oh, look at that! Yay! Wanting to use thinner threads and smaller needles and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't happen that often in the beginner legit kit things that you would have to worry about switching all that stuff out. And you might find a way that works better for you to ensure that you have those crisp lines. Here I'm sewing the 4 blocks together. I'm just making sure, because there is some play sometimes with the blocks, even as it's going through the feed dogs, just the way the feed dogs are pulling the bottom. Sometimes the top will skew too far to the right or too far back towards the left. You just want to make sure all of it's lined up. And because I'm not a pinner, that's something I have to keep an eye on for sure. I'm reaching the end of month 5. That's exciting. So this was a good month. Nice and fast. Nothing stressful. And great colors. I know. I love my greens. Can't help it. All right. Let's see. All right, did pretty good, I think, with the join there. And that's it. That is the well, I'll probably do some taking the papers out of the center seam and stuff, but that is the 4 blocks of month 5 all together. Gosh, look at that. Yeah, this is definitely a fun sew along. Really enjoy doing this live on Sundays. This getting it ready without you guys has been very weird. But I'm excited to spend this weekend with my kiddos and still be able to sew along with you all in spirit for month 5. Getting a little picky about the papers there in the seam. And these are the only papers I'll remove at this time, are just the seam allowance ones. I will wait to remove the papers from the whole thing until it's all together. But yeah. Wow. This was really fast. I'm excited about this month's. And if you all have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. Let's see a picture of the final. Here we go.
All right, so there we go, month 5 all put together. It's so pretty. Here, I'm gonna just pull it out to show it again a little bit better than that one picture that I have, which is kind of just, flat. But this is what she looks like all together. Sorry, I've had her folded up waiting for the next month's. So not as ironed out as she had been originally, but nice to be back in the greens. And then we'll see what month 6 looks like. Wow, next month we'll already be halfway through. That's pretty cool. For those of you that might be interested in doing the month block of the month with Legit Kits, this next round, it is actually an eyeball, like very faceted, very like it looks like a jewel. It's very cool. It's a greeny blue iris, so I think it lends itself to customizing it to maybe your eye color. I think that would be very fun. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming it's going to follow a very similar format as Color Vortex has, where you can order the digital only, so the digital download where you get that each month, the kit only where you get the monthly like 4 blocks if it's like Color Vortex, and the olive fabric each month, or you can do the digital and fabric. So if you wanted to do it again, you would have that option too. I'm assuming that it's going to be the same. I will say that the eyeball looks a little bit more intricate, so it could be the magic of Legit Kits, and it is not any more difficult. But it does look a little bit more intricate, which I think would be kind of cool to like take it the next step. This first one was very, very beginner friendly, and then like the next block of the month might be a little spicier. But we'll see. And I do know that there is a, to this point, it's been 1, 2, or 3 dots, and they're testing a 0 dot, super beginner, only 4 blocks, like color block kind of look. That's going to be exciting. So I'm excited to see that. I've seen the testing of it, and I'm excited to. And they shared pictures, so it's not. I'm not speaking out of turn. So I'm excited to see when they're going to release that, because I know there are a lot of folks who are nervous. I feel like that's going to be a really good price point because it's small, and it'll be a really good introduction in how to into how Legit Kits does FPP. So be on the lookout for that too. I'll of course let you know when that's coming out. All right, so that's it for the second video. If you're again seeing this first and you want to take a look at how I did the cutting of the fabric for month 5, should have come out probably about a half an hour before this video came out. Otherwise, I will see you Tuesday night for the 2-color quilt challenge, and then Thursday morning for the podcast. And then next week, we'll be back to regularly scheduled Sunday brunch before I leave for Walnut Port and the Nut House, which that Sunday I won't be able to, because, you know, I'll be in Pennsylvania, won't be able to have a normal brunch that day either, so I'll probably release something that day too. All right, enough rambling of a mad quilter. I will talk to you all soon. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Bye.